Wild West evokes majestic yet dramatic images, tense gunfights, cowboys riding into the sunset, and rugged, untamed landscapes. It is not just a chapter of American history, but a legend that has shaped the nation's identity. But what lies behind the Hollywood glamour and these enduring myths? Just as the Vikings are the pride of Sweden and Norway, and the samurai symbolizes Japan, the Wild West is a quintessential mark of American culture. However, the familiar stories are just the surface. Now is the time to uncover the truth behind this legend, a legacy that will profoundly shapes American culture. Are you ready to unveil the secrets of the Wild West? Let's begin right now. The story of the American West is intrinsically linked to the broader narrative of the United States' emergence as an independent nation. In the early 1770s, Britain controlled vast territories along North America's eastern seaboard, organized into 13 distinct colonies. These colonies, benefiting from significant self-governance, intercolonial cooperation, and robust trade networks, gradually shed their British identity, embracing a burgeoning American consciousness. This shift laid the groundwork for escalating tensions between the colonies and the British Crown, culminating in the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776. The birth of the United States of America marked not just political independence, but also the realization of a broader dream, a nation founded on the principles of freedom, cultural reform, and the promise that any individual could better their prospects through hard work and lawful protection. This aspirational vision attracted waves of immigrants seeking better lives, propelling the population from a mere 5 million in 1800 to an impressive 23 million by 1850. However, the promise of egalitarian opportunity was soon tarnished by the persistence of old world class systems, which impeded social mobility for the lower classes. Disillusioned by these entrenched hierarchies, many Americans looked westward, towards largely unexplored territories, with the hope of establishing new settlements that could evolve into thriving cities and states. This westward migration was driven by the belief that the frontier offered a fresh start, free from the constraints of established social orders. The early 19th century was a pivotal period for American expansionism, marked by geopolitical maneuvers that would reshape the continent's map. In 1801, Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, recognized the diminishing prospects of France's ambitious North American empire. Seizing the opportunity, Jefferson negotiated the Louisiana Purchase, a monumental deal concluded on December 20, 1803, which effectively doubled the size of the United States. This acquisition not only provided the young nation with the vast new territories, but also included strategic assets like the Mississippi River, which would become a crucial artery for American commerce and economic development. The Louisiana Purchase ignited the concept of manifest destiny, a philosophical doctrine coined in 1845 that posited the United States, particularly its white Christian population, was dividedly organized to expand its dominion across the untamed western lands. Manifest destiny became a driving force behind American policies and actions, granting moral authority to disregard the territorial claims of Native American populations, whom settlers often viewed as obstacles to progress. This ideology fueled relentless westward expansion, leading to the displacement and disenfranchisement of indigenous communities. Following the Louisiana Purchase, the American government embarked on a mission to explore and map the newly acquired territories, seeking practical routes to the Pacific Ocean to facilitate future settlements and expansions. Commissioned by President Jefferson, the Lewis and Clark Expedition, led by Captain Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, undertook a 3-year journey and provided invaluable insights into the geography, resources, and inhabitants of the western frontier. Their exploration not only charted the vast expanse of the new lands, but also heightened the American public's awareness and interest in westward migration. Simultaneously, European powers like Spain, France, and Britain asserted territorial claims in North America, creating geopolitical tensions. Spain, concerned about the Lewis and Clark expedition, threatening its interests in Florida, Texas, and California, sent military forces to counter American expansion. Despite this, President James Monroe proclaimed the U.S. intend to expand westward to the Pacific Ocean, warning European nations against further interference. This stance not only reinforced U.S. westward growth but also set the stage for future territorial conflicts. The mid-19th century witnessed a surge in westward migration, with settlers embarking on arduous journeys along established trails, such as the Santa Fe Trail and the Oregon-California Trail. These routes, while promising new opportunities, were fraught with immense challenges. The Santa Fe Trail, for instance, traversed the Missouri River, navigated the divides between the Arkansas and Kansas rivers, and extended into the arid expanses of New Mexico. Similarly, the Oregon-California Trail spanned from Independence, Missouri, through treacherous mountain ranges and vast basins, reaching the fertile valleys of Oregon. Life on these trails was a testament to the resilience and determination of the American pioneers. Wagon trains, often comprising dozens of wagons, set out in early spring, forming large convoys for mutual protection and logistical support. The journey demanded meticulous organization, with settlers establishing governing bodies, electing leaders, and devising rules of conduct to maintain order. The iconic Conestoga wagons, robust and capable of hauling heavy loads, became synonymous with the pioneer spirit, embodying the practical ingenuity necessary to navigate the rugged terrain. However, the journey was anything but easy. Settlers contended with harsh weather conditions, difficult terrain, scarce resources, and the constant threat of conflict with Native American tribes. Diseases such as cholera and smallpox ravaged wagon trains, compounded by malnutrition and the absence of adequate medical care. The infamous Donner Party tragedy, where pioneers resorted to cannibalism to survive the unforgiving Sierra Nevada winter, underscores the extreme hardships faced by those who dare to venture into the unknown. The latter half of the 19th century brought a technological revolution. The advent of the railroad, the completion of the first transcontinental railroad in 1869, significantly reduced the time and peril associated with westward migration, replacing the perilous wagon trails with a swift and reliable mode of transportation. Railroads not only facilitated the movement of settlers, but also played a crucial role in economic development, linking western territories with eastern markets and enabling the efficient transport of goods and resources. As railroads expanded, they spurred the growth of towns and cities, transforming all settlements into bustling hubs of commerce and industry. Cities like Denver, San Francisco, and Chicago flourished, becoming centers of trade, manufacturing, and cultural exchange. The meatpacking industry in Chicago, for example, became a cornerstone of the American economy, processing millions of cattle and hogs and fueling the demand for open-range cattle drives. However, the rise of railroads also introduced new economic dynamics, including the proliferation of various local currencies and the emergence of labor movements as workers sought to protect their interests against exploitation by railroad companies and other industrial giants. The growth of western towns like Deadwood, Tombstone, and Denver exemplifies the unique social fabric of the Wild West. These settlements often sprang up rapidly around resource-rich areas such as gold mines, silver deposits, and strategic railroad stops. Deadwood, established in 1876 amidst the Black Hills Gold Rush, the Tombstone, founded around silver mines in Arizona, became emblematic of the lawless yet vibrant spirit of the frontier. These towns boasted a diverse array of establishments, including saloons, gambling halls, brothels, dance halls, churches, newspapers, and even ice cream parlors, reflecting a microcosm of society within the rugged western landscape. Entertainment played a pivotal role in these communities, serving as both a social outlet and a means of maintaining cultural ties with the eastern cities. Traveling theater companies brought performances that ranged from dramatic plays to elaborate musicals, providing settlers with a semblance of civilized life amidst the wilderness. However, entertainment was not without its darker aspects. Brothels, often seen as a necessary concession in male-dominated mining towns, became lucrative enterprises for women seeking financial independence amidst limited employment opportunities. The phenomenon of red light districts, areas designated for prostitution, emerged as a direct result of the influx of men and the demand for such services. Moreover, the lack of formal law enforcement in many western towns led to rampant crime and vigilantism. Figures like Wyatt Earp became legendary as lawmen who navigated the thin line between order and chaos, embodying the archetypal cowboy hero who maintained peace through sheer force of will and marksmanship. Outlaws such as Jesse James added to the complex narrative of the Wild West, blurring the lines between heroism and criminality and contributing to the mythos that continues to captivate the American imagination. The absence of established legal systems in many Western settlements often necessitated the rise of vigilante justice and informal law enforcement measures. In towns where the U.S. Army was stretched thin, focusing primarily on suppressing Native Americans' uprisings and securing borders, local communities frequently took the law into their own hands. Vigilantes formed armed poses to pursue suspected criminals, operating outside the bounds of official law enforcement and often bypassing due process. This environment fostered a culture where swift and sometimes brutal retribution was the norm, further perpetuating the image of the Wild West as a land of unbridled lawlessness. As western towns grew and stabilized, the need for formal policing became evident. Local governments began to establish official law enforcement agencies, hiring sheriffs and marshals to maintain order and uphold the law. However, these lawmen often found themselves in precarious positions, navigating the challenges of maintaining peace in a volatile environment. The infamous gunfight of the OK Corral, involving the Earps and the Clantons, epitomizes the intense personal and communal conflicts that could erupt in these frontier towns. Such events not only cemented the reputations of these lawmen and outlaws, but also contributed to the larger-than-life narratives that have become ingrained in American folklore. The interplay between vigilante justice and formal law enforcement highlights the transitional nature of the Wild West, moving from chaos towards structured governance. While the popular narratives of the Wild West often focuses on heroic endeavors of settlers and lawmen who sought to maintain order, a crucial and often overlooked aspect is the perspective and resistance of the Native American populations. For centuries, indigenous tribes had inhabited and stored the vast expanses of North America, developing rich cultures and complex societies. The arrival of European settlers, followed by American expansionism, was perceived by these communities as an invasion that threatened not only their lands but also their very identities and ways of life. The doctrine of discovery, a legal principle adopted by the United States in 1823, further entrenched the disposition of Native Americans by granting sovereignty of new lands to European explorers, thereby disregarding existing territorial claims and treaties made with indigenous tribes. This policy facilitated the systemic displacement, relocation, and often brutal suppression of Native American communities, leading to frequent and bloody conflicts. Prominent Native American leaders like Geronimo, Red Cloud, and Sitting Bull emerged as formidable figures who resisted American encroachments through military campaigns and strategic alliances. Geronimo, an Apache leader, waged relentless campaigns against both Mexican and American forces, demonstrating exceptional courage and tenacity. His guerrilla tactics and personal valor became legendary, though ultimately he was forced to surrender, symbolizing the tragic resistance against overwhelming odds. Red Cloud, leader of the Oglala Lakota Sioux, orchestrated significant military victories against the U.S. Army, notably during Red Cloud's War, where he secured temporary control over large swaths of territory in Wyoming and Montana. However, the discovery of gold in these regions undermined the treaties and agreements, leading to renewed hostilities and further loss of Native American lands. The Battle of the Little Bighorn, led by Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, stands as a pivotal moment in Native American resistance. The defeat of General George Custer's 7th Cavalry by a combined force of Sioux and Cheyenne warriors was a symbolic victory that underscored the resilience and strategic prowess of indigenous leaders. However, despite such victories, the relentless push for westward expansion and the depletion of vital resources like the buffalo, which were essential for the sustenance of Plains tribes, rendered the plains almost unlivable for Native Americans. Conversely, not all Native American leaders chose to resist militarily. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce sought peaceful resolution to conflicts with the U.S. government, advocating for negotiation and coexistence. His efforts, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlights the diverse strategies employed by indigenous leaders in the face of relentless expansionism. The systemic erosion of Native American societies, compounded by disease, forced relocations, and cultural suppression, has had enduring repercussions. The narrative of the Wild West often portrays Native Americans as antagonists to progress and neglects the profound injustices and the resilient spirit of the indigenous populations who endured immense hardships and fought valiantly to preserve their heritage and autonomy. The dichotomy between the myth and reality of the Wild West is epitomized by figures like William Frederick "Buffalo Bill" Cody. Born in Kansas 1846, Cody's early life was marked by personal tragedy and the tumultuous era of the Civil War. His father, a Baptist minister, was killed advocating for the abolition of slavery, compelling young Cody to assume adult responsibilities at an early age. His subsequent ventures as a skilled horseman, scout for the Union Army, and buffalo hunter laid the foundation for his later fame. Buffalo Bill's exploits as a scout and buffalo hunter earned him the moniker Buffalo Bill, a testament to his proficiency and role in the burgeoning meatpacking industry that relied heavily on cattle drives and the slaughter of buffalo for their meat and hides. His reputation for bravery and skill made him a legendary figure, admired and romanticized in the popular imagination. Recognizing the potential to capitalize on his fame, Cody transitioned into entertainment, found in the famous Buffalo Bill's Wild West show in 1883. This travel and performance troupe became a cultural phenomenon, blending elements of traditional frontier life, theatrical spectacle. The show featured sharpshooters, cowboys, Native American reenactments, and elaborate performances that dramatized the exploits of the Wild West. Figures like Annie Oakley, a renowned sharpshooter, and actual Native American leaders like Sitting Bull participated in these shows, lending authenticity and drawing massive audiences. Buffalo Bill's Wild West show played a crucial role in shaping the American and global perception of the Wild West. By presenting a curated and dramatized version of frontier life, the show perpetuated the myths of heroic cowboys, fearless lawmen, and noble yet tragic Native American warriors. While it entertained millions and cemented the image of the Wild West in popular culture, it also sanitized and romanticized the harsh realities, glossing over the violence, displacement, and suffering endured by indigenous populations. The success of Buffalo Bill's shows exemplifies the power of media and entertainment in constructing national myths. The blending of fact, fiction, in these performances contributed to the enduring legacy of the Wild West, influencing literature, cinema, and collective American consciousness. However, this myth-making often obscured the true complexities and injustices of the era, perpetuating stereotypes and romantic ideals that failed to acknowledge the darker aspects of American expansionism. By the early 20th century, the era, commonly referred to as the Wild West, had largely come to an end. The completion of transcontinental railroads and the establishment of formal legal systems, and also the integration of Western territories into the national framework rendered the frontier divide obsolete. The rapid industrialization and urbanization that followed transformed former frontier towns into modern cities, with many ghost towns left behind as the economic engines shifted towards new industries. The closure of the frontier had profound implications for American society and culture. The myths and legends of the Wild West, however, continued to resonate, becoming integral to the American identity. The imagery of cowboys, outlaws, and frontier justice became staples of American folklore, perpetuated through dime novels, pulp magazines, and later, motion pictures. The Western genre in cinema flourished, romanticizing and further entrenching the archetypal narratives of rugged individualism, moral clarity, and the triumph of civilization over wilderness. Despite the fading reality of the Wild West, its legacy endures in contemporary American culture. Names, symbols, and cultural references from the frontier period remained embedded in national consciousness, reflecting a cherished yet complex heritage. The stories of pioneers who ventured into the unknown, the conflicts that shaped the nation, and the myths that continue to inspire generations speaks to the enduring fascination with the Wild West. However, the legacy isn't without its challenges. The romanticized narratives often overshadows the historical injustices faced by Native American populations, perpetuating misconceptions and erasing the profound losses experienced by indigenous communities. In recent decades, there has been a growing recognition of these issues, leading to a more nuanced and critical examination of the Wild West's history. Efforts to honor and preserve Native American heritage, address historical grievances, and promote a more accurate representation of the frontier period signifies a shift towards a more inclusive and comprehensive understanding of this pivotal era. The history of the American Wild West is a tapestry woven from the threads of ambition, resilience, conflict, and myth. Beyond the cinematic portrayals of heroic cowboys and dramatic gunfights lies a more intricate and often harsh reality of westward expansion, marked by geopolitical maneuvers, cultural clashes, and the indomitable spirit of those who sought to carve out new lives in uncharted territories. The legacy of the Wild West, the romanticized, remains a foundational element of American identity, reflecting both the triumphs and the tragedies of a nation in motion. As contemporary America continues to grapple with its historical narratives, the true story of the Wild West offers valuable lessons on the complexities of progress, the costs of expansion, and the enduring impact of the frontier on the nation's cultural and social fabric.